All right, thanks, Rachel. Doan Monty here. France versus Singapore, second to last match of the day. Should be interesting. Like the desk said, a big opportunity for France, especially in a group like Group D. What do you think?
I think we really have to see a very solid performance, particularly from France, if they're looking to get out of this group right here. That has to be the main thing to look at as we head into the match versus Singapore. Singapore maybe not having the same level of expectations, but France, who has many, many strong Overwatch players, they got to show up today because Thailand and China just showed off in a hell of a match.
Man, that was probably my favorite match of the day, actually.
Really
it was very close. Looking forward to seeing those guys again. But, yeah, we'll see what France can do against Singapore. Singapore is certainly the team with the most to prove. But it's fun, right? Because it's another opportunity for us to see some players that we don't see a whole lot of. And as we move into King's Row, it's time, Monte Cristo. It is time.
It is time
to begin the match. But first, let's stop by the bookshop and look for some fine books.
And a memorial statue to Omnic.
Good old
Dalai
Mandata.
Lama.
Mandata? Oh, King's Row. Oh, see, there's even a sign.
At least we know.
What do you know?
A windy street in London.
That's right.
Would you wear Spenny Moore clothing, Doa?
Well, it's a little bit late for the autumn collection. We're moving into winter, but I'll consider it next year.
You know, normally it's autumn-winter. That is actually the collection. You have spring, summer, autumn, winter in the world of fashion. So I think you'll be okay with their autumn collection.
Why did you ask me a fashion question? Did you forget who you were casting with for a second there? I'm wearing duck hunt shoes right now, Monte Cristo.
I know. You are a fashion maverick.
I am.
That's the best way to say it, I guess.
I dress to the beat of my own drum. Wait, that didn't make any sense. You get the idea. Well, crew on that Widowmaker to get a view of maybe what Singapore's got in store for the defense. We'll see if he sticks on it. He certainly can to try to get a couple kills, but Digon on that Hanzo too, so
we
curious.
We see so many players just trying to scope and get a lucky shot off at this point before dropping back down and picking something else up. So. See if they actually stick to a double sniper. Nope, it'll be that first shot blocked by a Reinhardt shield, back down.
Yeah, they will stick with the Hanzo, though.
Yeah, Hanzo much more common on the first point of this map. Many teams really like running that here. They have the setup with the Zarya. Yeah. And it's great for spamming down Reinhardt shields from range. And
it is.
You can get onto the high points on the back side of the point as well, try and get some of those picks off. Right now, just controlling the zone, seeing if he can get some lucky shots, but Reinhardt's there with the shield, at least for the moment.
Yep. That's right, not getting any kills as of yet, but they do push France back a little bit around the corner of the building. Singapore having a little bit of trouble getting onto the point, and yeah, Deacon needs to be putting a little bit more damage on than he has been. Well, missing a few arrows, and it's tough to get through the Reinhardt shield, but he's had a couple opportunities.
Crew had to fall back really early, got picked off right there, so France just going back to the base, trying to reset right now. Colbat just raining in the rockets from range, but Digon, he's got to be the one to actually take out the Pharah here. Got Crew as well on the McCree. So some long range, hit scan as well to deal.
All right, now Goose comes in. We'll see if it gets onto Doubted actually backing onto that. Colbat has the barrage, gets one before he's taken down though. And that's going to give France a chance to get on the point here.
Yeah, just not enough damage, and he was afraid to come out, afraid of the McCree, so pops out at the end.
Wow, nice fire strike from Mikolo.
Not a very sneaky barrage, so yes, it is easy for France to deal with that. Pretty quick cap here, 5 minutes remaining for them to push forward, and Colbat trying to build up his meter once again.
Yeah. Coldblat's also my favorite Pokemon, by the way.
Is it a Pokemon, Doa?
No, it's not.
Okay, I actually wouldn't know, so you could have trolled me way harder right there.
You hide your love of Pokemon so well, Monte Cristo, but we know better.
Yes, you know me, #1 Pokemon Go player.
That's right. Little known fact. Colbat with the golden rocket launcher, though. Yeah. Trying to stymie France's offense, but
I mean, this is going to be really hard. They're right now, Singapore just has to try not to group up because otherwise they're going to get the black hole into the dragon arrow, and there it goes.
The dragon hole. Graviton Surge into the Hanzo ultimate, but Reborns decides to take matters into his own hands, tries to push back. Crew with a couple, but it looks like that push not stalled out too much.
No, they already hit the big Graviton Surge that they were looking for, had the ult combo, but France did have to use 5 ultimates on that push, so pretty big commitment right there. See Mikolo charging forward, Reborn's taking the shots from range, and he is going to get picked off by Noxus Zarya.
Reapers aren't very good at doing cartwheels, but he tried his best. France pushing ever closer to the end of point B here.
Yeah, it's been a pretty uncontested push so far.
Yeah, so far Singapore not putting up too much defense. D-Gun still sticking on that Hanzo, of course. He's got the Dragon's Rage deep inside.
Well, we'll see if he gets another angle to use it. Gonna fail hop and then actually get up to the top.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is that actually helped him avoid being seen by the Pharah for a moment. It was all part of the plan.
It was all a ruse, a clever ruse. Lots for Singapore to work for on the defense right now. Should be up to France to get as many ultimates out as possible without overcommitting to too many of their own.
Yeah.
5 up, and see what France can get done right here. Who's going to pull the trigger first?
Oh, Nox goes deep. They're going to actually use the Dragon's Rage along with the Graviton Surge. D-Gun gets one. Can they keep the push going, though? Sound Barrier protecting Singapore as the defense comes back, but a good run for this Hanzo. And they may be able to keep pushing this payload. Yeah, Colbat not able to do a lot by himself in the back lines, and France will keep pushing forward.
Yeah, but that was virtually everything that France had, Noah. And Singapore is still going to have many tools to work with here. And yes, there are 4 minutes on the clock, so France has time, but it's going to be a bit of a grind unless they can hit the shots.
Yeah, crew needs to avoid that nano-boosting Reaper. There's a Graviton Surge. Going to be hard to do that. Barrage comes in, 3 kills for Colbat. And there's a couple of those ults you were talking about.
I mean, there's all the ults. Report's going to get his. Doubted will have his up shortly, but France actually pulled quite a bit of ult charge there out from the likes of Singapore, so they have an opportunity to come back with a counter.
I was excited. Death switched over to Lucio for a moment, but then, or switched over to Zenyatta rather, but then right back to Lucio. Oh well, the dream is dead. France comes back in. They've got the sound barrier to try to push through with, and Mikolo very close to his ultimate. Reborn's getting in the back line, so he's got that Death Blossom, and he makes it work. The kill's coming in for Singapore, so far so good for the hold, but France has a lot of time left to work with.
They have a lot of time, and that was just a push to get their ult economy into a better place. Nox is nearly there as well with the Graviton Surge, so comes up to how well Singapore is going to defend. So far, Singapore has been doing a pretty good job of splitting up. They seem to know when the Graviton's coming in. They're avoiding the big Dragon Arrow that would be shooting through the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, now this is really a test to see how patient France can be, and so far so good for them. Waiting for that push, they've almost got the Graviton Surge. It should be up right about now. There it is, and we'll see if they put together a push out of this. Graviton Surge right after the sound barrier. No, not used quite yet. France pushing forward. There it is, and there's the Hanzo all ready to go. Doesn't use it, though, as they don't trap too many members of Singapore with that. Still gets the kill on the Reborns anyway, and the push will continue for France for the moment. Waiting for an opportunity here, and they've almost got it. Earthshatter comes in, doesn't do a whole lot. Dragon's Rage in response. D-Gun picks one up undoubted, and they might be able to finish it right here. Mikolo has the Earthshatter. It's all on him, on this Reinhardt, to try to stop the push. Takes down Revenant. No, Mikolo, he probably doesn't want to stop the push, does he?
No, he doesn't.
No,
He's actually going to keep going for it. That's a great Earthshatter.
There we go.
Comes through, and that's a completion of the map. And right there at the end, France, they held on to the Hanzo ultimate when they only saw the one person in the Graviton Surge. Credit to what we saw from Singapore, because they were splitting up. They were playing high ground, they were playing far back, and they were not letting them get any kind of big combo off. So it forced the adjustment from France, saved the Hanzo ultimate, and then they used it while they were streaming back in after dying and having been picked off to then push forward and continue moving. Yeah. So adaptations there from both teams, but ultimately shots are landed there by France. They adapt, they save the ultimates, and sort of use them one after the other instead of going for the big combo play. And that ultimately proved more effective against Singapore's positioning.
Yeah, the Dragon's Rage is a very good answer to that Earthshatter coming in from Singapore. And now Singapore is swapping over to offense themselves. We'll see what they can put together on King's Row, because, you know, that last point can kind of be tough to push through. So if your opponent gets there, if your opponent gets all 3 points on this map, that really does put a lot of pressure on you to match up, and that's not easy to do on that 3rd point.
Yeah, no, it's not. So we'll see if Singapore has some good strategies to push through with on the first point of offense.
Oh, Mandata, we'll miss you. What are those? Mandata's nunchucks or something? Or his batteries? What is that in front of that portrait?
Maybe it was hard drives, because they forgot to back him up before the assassination
Seriously,
attempt.
Right? That's the thing. If you're an Omnic, I would have backups of me hidden all over my house just in case, you know? Get hit by a bus.
That was a bummer.
Yeah.
Let that be a lesson to everybody.
Always back up
your data.
That's right. Always back up your robotic spiritual leaders before they make really controversial public appearances. Some like it bot. Well, not a lot of people in London, apparently, in the Overwatch universe. Well, the streets are slippery with goo, and McCree is fine with sliding around on that, I guess.
Okay, so France here on the defense. They've got all they could need. If there was a Pharah, they will be able to deal with it. There is. Colbat going to be coming in. So a combination of McCree and the Mei will be able to make it more or less a no-fly zone.
Yeah, triple tank for Singapore as they try to go in with that Winston. Actually, I'm sorry, double tank. The Winston, interesting.
Yeah, taken care of right there.
More of a dive.
Was a good Winston shield on the flashbang.
Well, you know, you try to get in there and distract with Winston and kind of free up the airspace for your Pharah to do damage to the point, but it's a pretty intricate thing to try to make work for the offense. And Singapore, you know, already struggling a little bit with that. It's tough. Trying to spread people out a bit, but Colbat takes some damage already. That McCree crew really doing work for France to kind of mitigate this.
Yeah, Nox gets Revenant again, so the engages here from Singapore haven't been as well coordinated.
Yeah.
And that means that they're losing their front line basically super fast. And they're going to get walled in there by D-Gun. And just eliminated one by one by one. Blizzard's going to go down. Try and deal with that Winston once again. And the split spawns coming here from Singapore are pretty intense.
You know, I'm surprised because they've got a lot of time, but already it really seems like they're playing desperate here on point A.
Well, Colbat has finally gotten into a good position. They're on the point, getting that first tick, but here we go.
Yeah, that's right. Nano boost onto Mikolo, and that's going to push Singapore right back again. Revenant rejoining the fight, trying to get in there on the Winston, but remember, you know, they lost Safara right before this push really got started, and then the Lucio right afterwards. That's going to be an easy hold for France. Wow. I mean, Colbat really having trouble making a big difference, but he's almost got that barrage, so maybe this is going to be the time in the next push.
Yeah, credit to the way France played that, though. The Deadeye came out, and you just immediately targeted down the Pharah, who's in the air.
Yep.
And by distracting them, basically, with the engage from the nano-boosted Reinhardt. They weren't able to shut down the McCree during the ult, and that's what you get. So still a lot of tools here. Big defensive ults up for France. They have the sound barrier, they have the Graviton Surge, and they will soon have the Blizzard to work with. So it's going to be hard for Singapore to make it on this push, but that is a great barrage.
Yeah, it gets a couple, well, it gets crew, and that's crucial because that's the big Pharah defense for France. So now Colbat, he's stuck in the Graviton Surge though, gets taken down. If he would have been able to stay out of that, they would have had a much better chance. But France with the Blizzard after the Graviton Surge, looks like they're going to hold.
Yeah, Pamu too, dying just before.
Man.
To get the revive up, so that's going to be a no-go. And we saw AlphaCast there hit the sound barrier at the right time.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be a bigger barrage kill, but managed to delete most of that damage with the overshield and only pick up Crew, who wasn't one of the players who had a crucial ultimate up for that defense.
Yeah, but Crew is their Pharah defense. So if Colbat had lived, maybe he would have been able to put together something a bit better.
He did drift down into the point there, a little bit too close. And
he's at
there we go. Crew again with the clutch Deadeye onto the Pharah. Line of sight good. And Colbat simply can't get out of vision fast enough.
Yeah, well, France is holding quite well. Knocks with a couple kills on that Zarya. And again, you know, if you look at how they're chasing down these kills too, we talked about split spawning being a big issue for Singapore. People coming back to life at different times, and that's just caused a large majority of their problems. It looks like they're going to get full health.
Yeah, it does, especially with the Graviton. And the Blizzard up. It has to be Pamu here. They have to get an insane revive.
Yeah, he's got to stay hidden a bit better. Nano boost on the Zarya. D-Gun drops down the Blizzard, and with that Zarya, that's a lot of damage onto Singapore. And
there's the res.
Push is stopped, and it is, I don't think it's going to work.
Crew gets two immediately, was channeling the Deadeye during the res animation, and that's going to be it. So they knew the res was up. It had been up for a long time. Pamu hadn't used it, and France was ready.
Yeah, people trying to stream in, keep that overtime going, but it doesn't look like Singapore is going to be able to take this first point. France completes it on offense, full holds on defense. That's quite a statement here in map 1.
Yeah, absolutely, Doa. So France doing about as well as you can coming through. They will take the first
literally
map of the series. Yeah, I couldn't ask for more. And I really like the way that we saw Crew playing that McCree. So many good positional plays on the Deadeye, just time after time after time. They knew when Singapore was going to be aggressive, and they shut it down with the McCree each and every time.
Yeah, you know, and if you look at from Singapore's perspective, they tried some interesting stuff. You know, I like the idea of the Winston going in there, distracting for the Pharah, but, you know, again, it didn't seem like everybody was on the same page for Singapore. And then just the split spawning, you know, people not falling back in time when the push goes wrong, you know, people getting chased down by France. And when you have to wait, you know, that extra, you know, 4 or 5 seconds for the rest of your team to come back up to make another push, that really adds up fast.
Yeah, and that's what separates a lot of the skill level of these teams is when we get to the professional scene, it's all about the coordination, all about intelligently utilizing your ult economy and making the difficult decisions about how hard you're going to commit to a specific push.
Yeah, in the end of that, it was 161 eliminations to 59 in favor of France in those 2 rounds. And yeah, that's another tricky part of that.
Yeah, Nox too.
Pretty lopsided.
40 eliminations over the course of that series. D-Gun with 38, so showing up big, both of those players. And Crew may not have had as many eliminations at 27, but he was the one responsible for dealing with the Pharah on the defense, and that was very nicely done by him.
That's right. So while the teams get set up for map 2, let's learn a little bit more about our guys from France.
Before Team France even had a chance to prove themselves to the world, they had to prove themselves to France itself.
Initially, when our team got announced, we got a lot of, well, criticism, kind of, from the community.
Everyone back in France had something to say about the team, why there wasn't more pro players, or even people that they didn't know in this team.
We have a very unusual team comp for a World Cup team. In the French team, there's actually only 2 pro players and 1 semi-pro.
Me and the crew on Digan are the pro players for this team, and we just try to see who is the best for each heroes. Because of some weakness player, we have to stick on one lineup.
We adapt to each other's playstyle and really become a united team.
Even after proving themselves in-game and online, the French team still had to fight for approval from their fans to even be considered a legitimate threat in the World Cup.
We're kind of always the underdogs, and that's what makes us fun to watch.
It's fun to be the underdog. We practice a lot, try to show that we can still win games against pro players.
I think we managed to show that if we stick together and if we just try our best, France can still be a strong country in this World Cup.
Well, I think Alpha Cast said it best, man. I mean, they're just working well as a team together, and yeah, you can have those sort of individual weaknesses if you shore it up with a lot of good coordination. I think that's what we saw from France on King's Row, and we'll see if we see it on Hanamura.
Well, and we heard they have 2 pro players, 1 semi-pro player, and the rest of the guys are casters or streamers, and to have that communication around some of the ults that we saw in the last map, they were anticipating their shot calling was obviously strong for a team that isn't entirely composed of professional players.
Yep. I mean, if nothing else, if you're a caster and you end up in this situation, you can just play Lucio. There's always Lucio.
There's always Lucio.
You just got to break it down, and that's all you need to do.
Let somebody else tell you when to ult.
That's right. Let them call it speed boosts. Let them call it ults. You just break it down. Well, Singapore on offense as we started here on Hanamura, and right away the pharmacy combo, your farm Mercy, being tried out.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised to see that Crew is going to be on the McCree again.
Yeah.
They will have the tools to deal with this right off the bat. D-Gun going to get bounced around into an ice block.
Going to draw out that ice block fairly early, keep himself alive as he bounces onto the high ground here, has to back away from the rest of his team. Crew gets the kill onto the Mercy, though, and so Singapore may struggle a little bit with this. And now, yep, only 17 health, 1 health, 0 health, and Crew gets another one. He has really been kind of the one-man defense against this Pharah that Singapore's tried to bring at France.
He's been an excellent, basically, surface-to-air battery throughout this series, and that's all he has to do, because they are committed. When we think about Singapore, when they use Pharah and Mercy, they are committed to using the 2 of those heroes together, and if you can just take one or the other of them out, you basically strip the composition of a lot of its usefulness, because by themselves, they are not that powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen a little bit more of the Pharah without the Mercy lately, but it's still not terribly common. And taking a look at some of Crew's stats so far, 3 elims, 0 deaths already on this map as Singapore goes for another push. Deadeye activated. Crew feels he needs to use it, looking for a couple. Maybe he'll get him. Gets one onto Reborn. It's nice to get that Tracer out of the way. They've got the sound barrier to try to keep him healthy. Flashbang onto the ulting Winston, and the damage piling up there, finally taking out Revenant, and he was on his own through the whole thing. I mean, Singapore had already had to fall back, so again, just kind of a little bit of a lack of coordination for the Singaporean team.
That's why May is so excellent on this point. You can basically force them to fall back by consistently walling off the entrance. So many heroes are not able to get around that impediment.
Yeah.
And to go back to what you were saying about the Pharah Mercy combo, I actually these days think I like Pharah without Mercy more because, again, it's less of a commitment. So I think if you have great Pharah and Mercy players, you can get away with it, but it's easier just to run. Gives you another nano boost target if you want when you're running the Lucio Ana. And that makes a big difference, but they're going to try and engage it. Wow, wall comes in.
Good wall.
Right as Revenant jumped in, he is just focused down again, isolating the targets behind the wall.
I mean, okay, nano boost on to the Reiner. They're going to go aggressive here. France pushing way back. Meanwhile, Colbat getting sneaky with
a lot of
Pharah
ults
on the outside. Yeah, he does have the barrage, but nobody's home.
And
this is the loneliest Pharah I've ever seen. All right.
Crouching on top of a
sneaky.
temple.
And, you know, hey, we got our wish. Pharah by herself, right?
My ultimate is ready.
So, okay, well, this is something we don't see very often, I guess. France may be caught unawares by this Pharah. Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore.
All right, you gave away your position,
The
buddy.
jig is up, Colbat.
Yeah, all right, well, the Tobelstein dropped down. Reborn's the first to drop as France just continues to be aggressive right outside the door of the shrine here, and Colbat's still lurking on top of the roof.
Crew knows.
All right, yeah, well, of course. I mean, Colbat's been shooting at people from there. They know. Trying to knock him off, but
Colbat at 5 HP right now.
this is so annoying.
There is a health back underneath if he wants to try and chance it. It's a bit of a risk.
All he needs to do is get breathed on by somebody, and he's going to get taken out. Is he going to actually escape here? No, he's not. Like, that was like a Looney Tunes slide off the roof there. It was cute, but it did not work at all. Crew jumping onto Doubted now. He's going to go down real fast. And Singapore, you know, again with no push, and, you know, talking again about, as we see Lucio fall to his doom.
That's one of the times
I had a point
that
to
you
make,
just
but
need to get off the map and reset with your team. He was trying to reset. Pamu had died before he got stuck up there, and that meant he was just saying, okay, everybody's going to come in, I'm going to get the flank, but then he blew his own cover. There was no more surprise, and that's probably going to be just about it here as
well, they're going to send in the Revenant with the Primal Rage. He's going to try to survive, but that's a great Graviton search from Nox as he groups up a lot of the members of Team Singapore. They did get some time on the point, though. This might be an opportunity here, but no, there goes some Mercy. And now as they finish off Revenant, I think it's going to be a hold for France, but they're not done quite yet. We'll see. Colbat very low, taken out, and that powered up Zarya. Plenty to hold the point. Goodbye overtime, and France holds it on point A.
And that means that France only has to take a single point, and they will be taking the match, their first in their group up against Singapore. So
64-11 in the elims for that first round.
Yes, it has been rather one-sided, but Nox has been really good on the Zarya. Actually, is tracking there on the Pharah. But I'm just impressed by the shot calling, the communication within France seems very clear.
I agree.
They always know where the threats are coming from. They always know which ultimates are up. They're always planning. So shot calling looking strong.
Yeah. You know, one thing I wanted to mention, too, with the Pharah Mercy combo is having that Mercy there, I think, incentivizes you to play a little bit more aggressively. But I think the Pharah serves a better purpose as kind of a longer-range backline poking champion, or a hero right now, rather. And, you know, we're seeing Singapore try to kind of get aggressive with that Pharah Mercy combo, and they're just not seeming to be able to handle that without dying pretty quickly.
Yeah, and again, if you have the Ana and you have the Lucio, you have the ability to speed boost and nano boosted Pharah in there, which is situationally usually not what you want to go for, but situationally we've seen it work. Korean teams like to run Pharah like this. Rogue with Tavik likes to run Pharah like this sometimes.
Wow, and seeing the golden Symmetra gun for the second time today. I did not expect that. They're going to go triple support here on defense. Zenyatta, Symmetra, and Ana. Interesting. Okay. So Zenyatta's nice on this map, of course. You can put a lot of long-range damage on. The Orb of Discard is fantastic. And then if things get hairy on the point, you can go in there with the Transcendence at a moment's notice. Obviously, the defensive option potentially strong for Symmetra. So it's an interesting comp. I like to see it being used. But with France's comp, they're going to be very aggressive. We'll see if they can just roll right through it with that dive-oriented composition.
Well, we get to cast a Pharah without a Mercy now. So
Hooray.
our conversation became relevant. It's almost like we're psychics.
Yeah. And see, I mean, Crew doing what we were talking about, staying back, being a little bit more defensive with that Pharah, just going for the poke, building up that ultimate, taking out turrets too.
Yeah, D-Gun got through the upper window and onto the top of the temple, and now that is a big problem.
Yeah, that's
for
Zenyatta. Well, he's going to take a long time to get back. And there's another kill. Pamu goes down, so 2 supports already taken out by D-Gun. And he is just one-man slaughtering Team Singapore. And it looks like France may be able to take the point pretty close right here. Although Crew, he gets back up.
Nice.
That
Rocket
was
jumps his way back up, but
Yeah.
everybody else is dead right there. Trying to distract the Reinhardt on the side. Reborn's just attempting to tickle him from range with his left kick, but it's just too far.
Yeah.
Just a game of ult build up right now.
Yeah, buying time as France gets back onto the point yet again. Crew going for the knockoff on the Pharah. Doesn't quite land it here. Has to deal with the Reaper, so he's going to back away. I heard an Earth Shatter go down. Looks like that was from Doubted. Crew has the barrage now, and he's just going to pop it. Yeah, just wants to get rid of Zenyatta and just fire rockets off into space.
Space rockets are the best rockets, Stoa.
They work out. You know what else is pretty nice? France taking this point. Oh, and there's the nano boost for the cleanup. Dives into the Graviton Surge at the end, and he's just going to walk forward, and that is it. France able to take Hanamura post-haste.
Well, if you look at the first defense by Singapore there, when you have that Genji, you really need, if you're going to be using the Zenyatta, to sort of keep at least a couple of your supports together for some sort of defense. Otherwise, you get 1v1, you get picked off, and there's not that much you can do. Or you have a McCree back there with your Genji, Orb of Discord, straight to Flashbang. There's a possible counterplay, but D-Gun did a great job of just sort of reaming the back line.
You know, it feels like we should have more maps than that. It all ended too fast, Monte Chris, so I wanted a little bit more Overwatch from that. But France had the coordination, had the ability, had the individual prowess, and they will get a clean 2-0 victory over Singapore.
And that's the performance they need.
Absolutely.
Seeing Thailand and China in the previous match, you gotta come back with a strong performance here to show that this is still going to be a hotly contested group in the end.
Yeah, I am really curious to see what France versus both China and Singapore is going to look like later on in the tournament. But for now, they can feel pretty confident, I think, going into whoever they end up facing next.
Yeah, 92 eliminations for France, 22 for Singapore. So
yeah, as far as Singapore goes, I mean, it's looking like it's fairly unlikely that they're going to get out of the group, but we'll see what we can do. And so let's break down that match a little bit more and send it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Doa. Let's break it down. That was very short, very sweet, and great plays by France. So start us off, Mr. X.
Yeah, it was a fast one. I mean, King's Row, I think we were a little bit surprised by the defensive Pharah on the side of Singapore. It's something you usually don't see too often. And so just a really strong performance by France on both maps, especially King's Row, though.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what France had. One thing they did showcase was their adaptability. We talked a little bit beforehand how Crew is known for playing a whole lot of heroes, and McCree isn't necessarily a strong point, but he is flexing to fit France here in this exhibition, and it worked out because you take a look at what we were seeing from the side of Singapore. They really want to use the Pharah a lot, Jason.
Yeah, they need more, I'd say, flexibility in their composition, in their hero pool for the side of Singapore to really kind of take it. We didn't really see too much McCree action. The Pharah isn't going to work when you're playing against the team who won the Overwatch Open, you know, by E-League just a couple weeks ago. Like, it's just not going to work. Even though he doesn't main McCree, he can still play it to a competent level enough that your Pharah won't be able to do too much.
Yeah, honestly, I feel a little bad for Pharah here because she has those moments where, you know, you get the multi-kill and you're like, yeah, this is working, and overall, it's not. You're just having these small victories that kind of feel like it.
Well, I don't think they put any pressure on the France McCree, right, when we were talking about it at Nox. But at the same time, you looked at how the Singapore team kind of built their composition so heavily around that Pharah Mercy combo. I think Monty said it best, is when, you know, when they got one of them out of the game, like, they're not that great individually.
The other thing we saw there, too, is that France in general looked much more coordinated. We had multiple cases where Singapore would sort of dive in with the Pharah, and they wouldn't have the rest of their team with them, whereas France, by comparison, they were really on top of things. They went in together, they defended together, and it definitely paid dividends.
And considering France has swapped around roles quite a few times since they've actually gotten here, where Mikolo went over to tank, we saw him playing the Reinhardt, but also Nox was supposed to go from tank over to DPS, but they must have switched literally last second and switched him over to flex role instead.
Yeah, because we saw Crew on the McCree doing phenomenal job there. And we have our Group D standings. That's China and France with the wins, and Singapore and Thailand with the losses.
I tell you what, though, that France-Thailand match I'm excited
Yes.
for. I think that one's going to be really close. I thought Thailand, and obviously they took China the distance. They were like so hyped in the room. They're going to be really pumped for that France match.
I think there's a very good chance that France-Thailand will decide the number 2 spot in Group D. Now, of course, who knows how China-France will work out. There's potential there for France to go, and then we'd have some sort of 3-way tie, even if Thailand was to beat France. So Group D, I think, is shaping up to be more interesting than people might have given it credit for to start things out.
I mean, even Nox, he's got that special wild card up his sleeve, or knowing that he's played against China. He was literally at the Overwatch APAC Premier Tournament. He played with Rogue, who eventually won the whole thing. So he knows generally how they can play. It's just whether or not he can help his team adapt to that kind of play style.
Yeah, totally true. And the one advantage that I think France has here is that was a long series between Thailand rather, and China. There's a lot of information given away. We saw a lot of how Thailand works. Meanwhile, in these matches, they were so quick, we saw almost nothing of the inner workings of France.
Yeah, I mean, it gives France a chance to go back, watch some film, get some rest. You know, China and Thailand put a lot of energy into that matchup. So France looked good. I'm excited to watch those 2 matches, though, France versus China, France versus Thailand.
Yeah, and of course, you take a look at France's right there. I mean, really, all you can glean information-wise if you're another team is that, all right, Crew's pretty adaptable. McCree-wise, he did okay. It wasn't a crazy shutdown McCree, so maybe you do challenge Crew's McCree a little bit more if you want to go down that road with maybe a Genji or something. So that'll be something to watch out for, if nothing else.
Yeah, I think Singapore just didn't put a lot of pressure on Crew. I think his job was fairly easy in this matchup. I think to what ZP said, I think if you could put a little bit more pressure on him, just test him a little bit, see what he can actually do, and you get up in his face, I think you'd learn a lot more about this France team.
And I think we'll see that tomorrow when they play against Thailand. Aputo and NZNR, how they're going to deal with them and how they're going to deal with Mikla, who's just going to be relatively inexperienced on the Reinhardt. And I feel like if you're McCree or you're an enemy Reinhardt, when you main that hero, you can take advantage of that. You can take advantage of him being so new to this role.
Well, we have a lot to look forward to tomorrow. You're already hyping it up, but there's still a little bit left today. So, guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's Sweden versus Brazil.